Well, welcome to the LER conversation with Dr. Tom Chang and Richard Adelson from Orthios. We would like to take a minute to discuss a new product that has recently been launched called the Weight Bear. And I'm super excited to have you guys here this evening. So before we get started, I'd love to go into, Rich, your experience and, quick introduction, your background, and sort of how did you get the idea for the weight bear? What is it, and what sort of specific things you might have encountered in your experience that led you to develop this product?
I've been in foot and ankle for about 15 years in a variety of sales and marketing roles, and I spent a lot of time in the OR. I was really honored to be in the OR over all those years, on and off, and I got to spend time in the OR and labs with a huge variety of docs, both world-renowned MDs and DPMs, and community-based rural MDs and DPMs. So as I spent more and more time with docs in the OR and in labs, I realized that, or I noticed that no matter what the skill level or the experience level, they all had the same issue, kept coming up over and over and over again, no matter who they were or
Mhm.
where they were. And that issue was getting in foot and ankle, getting consistent simulated weight bearing x-rays from the beginning of a case to the end of the case. And how it became evident to me was, as a person working for a hardware company, that difficulty or that challenge, which wasn't a skill issue, but just a challenge with OR logistics that Tom can address, it impacted their experience with the hardware. Take an implant in and out a couple of times to get it positioned correctly. It and it may not be the implant, but it may be how you're assessing the positioning. It reflects on the implant. So that was what struck me as the problem. Why is it that across the board, everybody seems to be having the same problem? So what I attempted to do, and with a lot of help from and great engineers, my partner Dave Pankratz is an engineer who I knew from BME, and the kindness of a lot of great skilled docs, present company included Tom. We came up with a design for an autoclavable um, simulated weight bearing device that's used in the OR. And that's what the weight bear is.
Rich brings you this prototype, right? And what was your first thought when you saw the prototype of the weight bear?
Well, it's interesting. That's a great question. I have to say, when he first showed it to me, I just remember looking at this device and just thinking about all these different possible ways that it might just be part of my surgical experience, and I probably sat there for like a minute because it just really got me excited.
Mhm.
And honestly, it's something that any foot and ankle surgeon that would look at this device probably would think the same. They
Mhm.
deal with these same issues in the OR, and they just have to figure out ways to make that experience better, more reproducible, more consistent. Those are the ways that we are successful. And it's all about positioning, and it's all about how that equates to function. And I've struggled for years, as most foot and ankle surgeons would attest to, that if and when you're trying to get the position right on any stabilization fusion case, that's really what it's all about. And over the years, I've always been trying to struggle with holding the foot in the right position, having the X-ray machine in the right position, and dealing with that case after case, week after week for 35 years. So when I saw this device, all of a sudden, I just, like a light went off. I
Ding,
said,
ding, ding. Yeah.
I can really do this reproducibly better and probably safer,
Mm.
and probably just know that this is something that I'm going to be wanting to use when I have these important cases to do well. It's really something that's been exciting. And I just know that I only want devices and equipment in the OR that just make me get the job done as well as I can, right? I don't want to waste time with things that slow me down or just really are not going to make a difference. And I truly feel this makes a difference. I'm going to do something similar anyways, but now I have a better
Mhm.
mousetrap to do what I need to do, get the position I need, be able to work a little bit hands-free, be able to um, load the foot in a way that I think is representative of what I feel is the functional position that I want. The interesting thing is everything that I do in the OR is based on my weight-bearing X-rays.
Mhm.
And I mean, that's what we need. We don't want non-weight bearing X-rays. We need weight-bearing functional X-rays. And if we are getting better and better at CT imaging, we want weight-bearing CTs. So
Mhm.
what we're wanting to do is have a good idea of what we need to correct by looking at the weight-bearing position. And so you have to rely on a simulated weight-bearing position in the OR as you're trying to get the best position and correction. It just makes sense. We
Mhm.
can try to reproduce that by loading a flat plate or, you know,
Mhm.
putting some pressure on the foot, which we all do, and we've done it for years. But there's just more fiddle factor, and there's just not as much reproducibility. The consistency is a little bit variable. So I just want to have a good, consistent weight-bearing opportunity to evaluate the foot before I finally finish the decision to fixate.
Mhm.
And I think that's what this is providing for me, and it really makes a difference in what I feel is making me be consistent and good at what I'm trying to do.
You brought this product to market. You
Yep.
got some early adopters, obviously, Tom, one of those. Um,
Yep.
and you've been introducing it to a lot of surgeons. What is some of the feedback you get about the primary benefits of utilizing? I think Tom
Yeah.
just leveraged just
Yeah.
said a lot, but
Yep.
you've talked to a lot of surgeons as well. So
Yeah.
what
I think there's starting to be a common responses and common benefits that people are attracted to. Tom mentioned a bunch of them. I would say the overwhelming, I've had to put an umbrella comment, it would be the whole extra set of hands
Mhm.
uh, idea that's come up a lot. Particularly for surgeons who are by themselves in the OR with a scrub tech only, and that's certainly where that extra set of hands come in. But we can talk about that maybe in some other circumstances. But I think just feature or benefit wise, what Tom covered, the weight bear is allowing the docs to have the foot in a consistent position and having the load consistent throughout a case, which
Mhm.
is eliminating two of the three real variables when it comes to X-rays that they are using to evaluate their fixation and their positioning. The other one being the position of the X-ray machine, which obviously will remain, but the position of the foot and the amount of load is going to be consistent throughout a case.
Mhm.
I think the other um, big issue that's come up, which was always part of the discussion when we were designing it, which was to be able to get the physician themselves, the scrub tech, and certainly the doc's hands out of the exposure so that some of the things that Tom mentioned quickly, if the weight bearer is there, their hands aren't pushing on a tray or pushing on a mallet, which are simulating weight bearing,
Mhm.
which is what's used 90% of the places to simulate weight bearing. So that's a big issue. I think the other big benefit that's built in that was a discussion and was a big design victory for us was putting a targeting system
Mhm.
into our loading plate that allows the docs to actually fairly easily get true lateral X-rays. So there's a way of manipulating the loading plate or the whole device, the whole weight bear, so that you know that what you're looking at various points during your case, whether it's a flat foot case, that when the weight bear is there, you can see on your X-ray machine that you're getting a true lateral X-ray. And the last one I'll say, and then we can certainly get Tom's opinion on it. which again, admittedly wasn't 100% up there on the list of features when we designed it, but having the foot and ankle docs being able to work in a loaded position has really moved up in the benefit
Mhm.
scale because as I've learned from being in cases when we were first using it and docs were the early adopters were looking at it and using it. Um, the bones in a fusion case, uh, when the weight bearer is loaded, when the weight bearer is up and loaded, and the foot is in a loaded position, the bones that you're trying to fuse are in a natural, congruent position, and that's the way you want them
Mhm.
when you fuse them. So it's another, I think, real nice benefit of it where they're able to do their work and leave the foot in a position to do their fixation, whether temporary fixation or their actual fixation. I think that's a nice added benefit.
Do you find, Tom, that it decreases the amount of time with the patient surgically, the procedure, and how easy is it to manipulate and use in the procedure? So a little two-part there.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I've been using this for about close to a year now. It's come out, around that time. So I've had a chance to use it in a multiple amount of cases, different forefoot to hindfoot ankle cases. I think it's very well engineered. So it's a very simple way to slide the tray in and out. It's a 90-degree locking position, so it kind of simulates that 90 degrees. Usually the knee is positioned with some slight flexion, so you have a little less soft tissue tension there, so it's ideal. And then you can engage that to a 90-degree foot plate, and it engages a simulated weight bearing position pretty easily, and then you can unhook it if you want to get that out of the way. What I've done at times is I've used it to hold the position, and then for first MP fusion, for example, I can look at the position very easily, and then I can just leave it there and apply my fixation. Temporary is already applied because I'm checking the position. But you can do the whole thing with the weight bearer there, retract the soft tissues, and temporarily and permanently fixate with the foot in that same position. So that really gives you the best way to be sure that you're capturing the position you want for your fusion. I've done that with hindfoot cases with double, triple fusions where I have, the ability to have the foot kind of held. I can see the position I want, I can temporarily fixate, and then I can double check everything carefully, and then I can apply the final fixation. So it has that capability. I think for me, I feel that I can't tell you how much time it saves me, but I just know that the time I spend in the OR is based on the fact that I need to make sure the position is right. It's worth spending the time. So now, if I have a device that I feel is reproducibly able to load and allow me to evaluate the position carefully and accurately, then it gets me to my ultimate goal of finishing the case quicker. So it's just useful. It's useful for me to know that I'm ready to fixate and I'm ready to move forward because I've confirmed the position is appropriate. So that's why it helps me in the way that it does. And then I would just say that when I first used it, the first thing that the scrub tech said is that they just love the fact that they don't even have to hold anything.
Mm.
It's kind of funny. No one wants to be holding the foot or ankle at any time when there's X-ray exposure. Now
Mhm.
we've been doing it for 35 years, but you know, I think we just do it because that's what we're trained to do. I did as a resident. I held every flat plate for my attendings because that was the resident's job. And and now with and without residents, I still hold it because I want to make sure the position's good. So if the position is confirmed to me reproducibly with this device, I just have one less thing to think about.
Mhm.
And for me, I know that getting away from the X-ray exposure is just going to be healthier in any situation. Um, I think you could probably talk to, radiologists or X-ray techs, and there's obviously a lot of conversations about
Mhm.
exposure. It's interesting. There was a study that was just done, or a paper that was presented on looking at how much X-ray exposure time you use when you do an ankle fracture repair and comparing that to a MAS bunion.
Mhm.
And it was uh, concluded that an MIS bunion, this huge phase of MIS surgery, has 7 times the amount of
Wow.
Wow.
X-ray exposure or X-ray time with a fluoroscan than fixing an ankle fracture.
Hmm.
And the bottom line is we need a fluoroscopic or X-ray evaluation for these surgeries. But maybe because we're learning with MIS, maybe it's just something that younger doctors are doing more frequently. Maybe they're inexperienced. But the point is, those are real numbers of the X-ray exposure. And I know that that's just going to be something you'll see down the road in terms of maybe some thenar atrophy or just different effects on the hand and other areas that we don't even know about right now. But there's no one that wants more X-ray exposure. And this is clearly the hands-free comment that Rich made serves two purposes. It serves the fact that you minimize your exposure, which is ideal for everyone, as well as the fact that you can reproducibly trade it off for something that holds your foot in the position that's accurate and reproducible. So it's not like you're just getting your hands out of the way. That's already a big exposure benefit, but it's also you're giving it up for something that does the job better or just as good. And that's what's important. You don't want to use something that's going to compromise your outcome. It's not about that. It's about the fact that if I use something new, it has to be just as good or better than what I can do without it. And I feel like this is a really logical trade-off. And then the other thing is the ultimate success of any of these procedures, whether it's the osteotomy or a fusion, is the position that you put the foot in. And you have to, that's the bottom line. It's not really about the fixation. It's about ultimately your decision to put it in the right position. And if this is something that helps you evaluate that more consistently and allows you to reproduce that more consistently, it's a win-win. So I feel like it's just making a difference in all different areas that make it something that I find very useful in the OR.
So, Tom, you've used the product for a year, you found it useful. What would you say to other clinicians, other surgeons that are looking at the weight bear or haven't heard about the weight bear?
Well, I would just ask them first, what they're doing now when they simulate weight bearing, because it's just probably a little different answer from different people. Maybe it's regional, maybe it's just individual training, because they're all doing it some way and they're probably doing it differently at different hospitals they go to because there's just different equipment. So this is just a way to standardize,
Hmm.
again, that very important need to have positional evaluation, loading, and assessment in the OR, and that's really what it's all about. So I would just say that I think there's a device that might improve that area of the surgery for you, where you can have a consistent, loaded, accurate, angled position to evaluate your foot position during surgery. And I think it's just very cool. It's exciting for me because it's part of my hindfoot cases. If I want to do an ankle fusion, I'll load it because it just is what I want to see, the position, medial column fusions, hindfoot fusions, Lapidus, MIS surgery, first MPJ fusions. I mean, these are all cases that we load the foot to look at position before fixation. Every one of them, we load the foot, and we all do it differently. We all load it differently from one case to another in the same OR in the same hospital, back-to-back cases. Now we just have something that's a little bit more predictable and loads in a consistent manner that I think just makes you feel like you're doing a more consistent, better job.
Well, I mean, I really think it seems as though this product is making your life easier and making the surgical procedures simpler to a certain extent, right? Because you're not having to deal with so many other issues. And so, really, I mean, I think we've covered a lot in terms of the value of the product, the benefit to the surgeon. And it really comes down to how does one find out about it?
On our website, theweightbear.com, there's a contact sheet on there. My email is on there and my phone. They can just reach out to me or fill out the contact card.